if you're an informed home buyer, chances are you will only buy into a RERA certified project, which is the so-called gold standard in India's real estate. According to a comprehensive survey 5 years on, an assessment of RERA undertaken by Omidyar Network India and Boston Consulting Group, known as BCG, 76% of consumers who were aware of RERA only plan to buy a RERA registered property, which means there's a high implicit trust in the idea of RERA, according to this report. Shilpa Kumar, partner Omidyar Network India, Neetu Vasanta, managing director and partner Boston Consulting Group, both of them join me for a deep dive and key findings of this report. We also have with us Munish Upadhyay, partner at SNG Partners, who has dealt with both developers either struggling or actually enabled by RERA and also consumers. All right, Neetu and Shilpa, first of all, must congratulate you. This is one of the most comprehensive reports I've seen on RERA, and you know what the gaps are and what is working. So I'll take a little different approach by taking each of the RERA promises. You know, when it came 5 years ago in 2016, the home buyers were very excited and there were two big promises they were hoping for. One is that if a buyer is buying into a RERA certified project, he or she believes that the builder has received all the approvals for the project construction, and therefore the chances of the project getting stalled are almost nil. Shilpa, do you believe that RERA has at least delivered on this promise so far, what your experience has been and what the survey shows?
Yeah, I think, Manisha, you know, what really has come out in this report is that the buyer has bought into the idea of RERA, and they see RERA as something which gives them comfort in terms of finally getting a timely delivery of their home. And I think the survey overwhelmingly points out that more than 70% of people surveyed believe that. And therefore, the success is there is an implicit trust in the idea of RERA. If you actually peel the onion a little bit more and say, has this implicit trust translated into full accountability and therefore actually realizing each and every part of the implied trust? I think that's something we can discuss in detail during the course of this conversation.
All right, Neetu, then let me take the second promise, which is, you know, one feels that one is assured that all payments made to the builder, because, you know, most of the projects in India are bought at the under construction stage. Yeah. So once it's RERA registered, the consumer believes that at least all my funds are going into the construction of the project and not getting diverted to buying land and other projects of the developer, which was rampant. Yeah. You believe that that's at least changed now? Does the survey indicate it?
Yes, drastically. So, you know, pre-2016, there were a few notorious cases and the entire sector had gotten a very bad name. You know, RERA greatly helped reduce the number of fly-by-night operators. You know, the big builders were actually relieved. We not only just surveyed the consumers, but we surveyed the builders, we surveyed the agents, and a lot of them said that, you know, we've got our heart in the right place, and the entire sector has gotten a bad name because of a few, you know, miscreants. So, you know, just apportioning the right fund for the project, that's a mandate of RERA. Most developers abide by it. But like, you know, similar to every other case, there are a few people who don't do this, and hence the number of complaints and the redressals that have been posted. But, you know, I would say that has greatly been put into shape.
Munish, I'm just looking at the key findings now, which are the positive parts of the report. 76%, we've mentioned that number of consumers are aware of RERA and only plan to buy RERA registered projects. The survey finds 5 out of 6 consumers seek redressal through RERA, and 77% of all projects have been registered with RERA. So let's look at the third promise that, you know, a buyer has, that if my project is RERA registered, it's going to be delivered in time, because now there's an empowered authority which is monitoring the construction. That part, I believe, is still, there's a big gap between what the expectation is and whether it's really happening. What's been your experience?
Manisha, as Shilpa had stated, that the buyers and consumers had bought into this whole idea of RERA, wherein they had a ballpark idea that there is a legislation which will protect our rights as a consumer in any real estate project. So as a law, RERA is brilliant. The whole idea when conceived was wonderful. It really changed the real estate market in India. But if you look at the compliance part of it, I'm very sorry to say that as on date, it is a toothless tiger. Compliance has not been up to the mark. So I've gone through BCG report also, wherein only 22% of people are satisfied as far as the grievance redressal mechanism is concerned. So that's where it's a cause of huge concern.
All right. So let me actually read out the graphics that you've been referring to. And this one is an important one, but it really sums up now the nitty-gritties of how the consumer is feeling about RERA and how really good it's been for him. So 30% of the consumers surveyed in this report said that they were still unaware of RERA's role as a regulator. 1 in 2, that's 50% consumers reported of being aware of just 2 benefits of the Act: the mandatory registration of the relevant projects and RERA as a grievance redressal forum. Nothing below that. But most importantly, only 14% of all potential home buyers have visited their relevant RERA sites, and 24%, that's the number I think Munish were mentioning, 24% of these consumers said that they were satisfied with the online experience, but only 22% of them actually who went for a grievance redressal process was satisfied because of the uncertain timelines involved. All right, Shilpa, this is the big grey area, isn't it? 1, the low consumer awareness, and number 2, the redressal mechanism is not working or is far from perfect.
No, and you're right, but let's look at, first the good news. The good news is when things go wrong, the consumer knows who to go to. I think that's really important, and 5 out of 6 people are choosing to go to RERA. Now, I think you have to put this in the context of where do orders get executed. For that, there is a dependence on your, judicial system where there are, a fair degree of pending delays. And I think the very important thing over here is that what are RERAs doing to still manage timely order execution? And we've seen some wonderful experiments like using alternative dispute resolution, involving consumer forums, involving RERAs, involving builders. I think that's an experiment worth taking forward. I think that's the first step. I think the second step is maybe just, putting out the data in terms of why are delays happening. Maybe a little bit more data might be helpful to get consumers into also this idea of why redressal is getting held up. And the last thing, and very important point we must take on board, is this act came in 2016 into a sector already troubled. And therefore, any property bought before 2015 did not benefit from the mitigations of this act. And therefore, resolution in these cases is naturally going to be much harder. And that's why there's again a differential satisfaction score for pre-2015 and post-2015 resolution. So I think we have to take a kind of holistic look at all of these things.
I'm going to leave out pre-2015, and I agree with you, Shilpa, that those are badly stuck cases prior to RERA, and RERA has been unable to resolve them because there are just too many nuances and complications to it. But post-2015, the point that Munish raised, that just ensuring compliance by developers with the Act's regulations. I mean, I'm going to take a very simple example now. This is, of course, also on Twitter. I have been asked multiple times by many of the home buyers. Central Act said that, look, you cannot advertise a per square foot rate on anything but the carpet area of a project, right? Haryana state government actually said that you can advertise or sell it at any parameter, but you must disclose the carpet area. So, there was a dilution there itself. But even today, if you were to look at the buyer-seller agreements which are signed in Haryana, almost more than 50% of them do not specify the carpet area. So I'm just using that example not to say that Haryana has not done a good job. In fact, it is one of the states which has done a reasonable job with RERA. But the fact that the compliance is so poor, need to take that question and say, why is the compliance low? Is it because RERA authorities do not have enough manpower to actually go look at the projects and actually go through all the buyer-seller agreements? What is it? What's missing and how do we fix it?
So let me take that. Thanks. I think it's a very interesting question. I think with RERA, there are two problems, right? One, it's a relatively new subject in many of the states. If you look across the states, 26 states have implemented RERA, but each of them is on a different path in the journey. Some states like Maharashtra were pioneers of the act and they are far ahead, whereas the other states are now, trying to improve it day by day. So one, I would just say that, every state is at a different stage in its evolution path. But secondly, the consumers are not even aware of what they can demand from the developers under this act. You alluded to the point that 50% of the consumers only think that a project needs to be RERA registered. And if there is something wrong, I will go to RERA with my complaint. That's it. Those are the only two factors that they talk about. There are things like, you need 2/3 majority of the consumers in order for the buyer to alter anything. The buyer cannot ask for more than 10% of advance payment. And if the developers do any of these, the consumer has the right to raise a complaint. So one, there is, great lack of awareness in terms of the consumers to demand for these things. And hence some of the developers are getting away with it. And second, even if some of these grievances are raised in the state RERAs, at times they don't have the manpower. At times, there are many other bodies that they need to mobilize. We need to understand that the RERA is not a judiciary body. They cannot dictate what needs to be done. They just come up with an issue resolution. And if the developers do not abide by that, they have to be taken to the court. So I would just separate the role of RERA as they are empowered today from that of a consumer court or any other court. And, even within that, the RERAs are at times not adequately staffed. At times, they are not able to mobilize the other ecosystem. But I would say largely they're doing their jobs in terms of grievance redressal. Is there a lot more that can be done? Absolutely, yes.
Munish, what's been your experience? How do you get the developers to fall in line? One is, of course, for the consumer to demand more, right? But we are entering now a housing cycle which is a little worrying, which is a robust housing cycle. The demand's returning, and sometimes what happens is the buyer gets into this FOMO mode that I shouldn't be demanding so much from the builder because this is a project, it's coming to me at a certain price, and now prices are likely to rise, or for whatever reason, there still doesn't seem to be enough empowerment amongst the consumers or the home buyers. How do we fix that, and how do we get the developers to fall more in line?
See, the entire issue stems from the fact that RERA is not suitably advertised. The states have been very, very reluctant to enforce it completely. If you look at the legislation in toto, they have got enough powers to make any developer fall in line. How many people have you heard have been jailed by any RERA authorities? No one.
Well, in news, just in ANAROCK has just done a study, at least Munish, where they have cancelled 644 licenses in Maharashtra, smaller projects where, the builders had gone ahead and at least sold. Now, most of these projects are sold already. So, from a legal point of view, even if a RERA authority comes in later and cancels the project, it's a little bit too little and too late, isn't it?
See, there are third-party rights created. They are all aware of it. Builders are very well aware when the third-party rights are created. Builder has abandoned the project. So what you are looking at is multiplicity of proceedings. You have lenders chasing the builder under IBC, SARFAESI, NCLT. Buyers are approaching RERA and then the consumer court. And builder is no more there. The project is stalled. So that is the only problem wherein RERA guidelines are absolutely not clear if the projects are stalled. And if you see in last 2-3 years, most of the projects, barring Maharashtra, are stalled, and there is no light in sight.
Manish, I wouldn't say most of the projects. I think the number of projects stalled have come down, barring, of course, COVID, where the developers had to go back to RERA. But yes, there is. Do you believe, Neetu, that maybe RERA needs to be given more teeth? I mean, if you want the developers to fall in line, one is what Manish is saying, that, you know, how many state RERA authorities really go after the developer. They're probably doing the balancing act. They also need development to happen in their states. And the second is that, you know, if I have to continuously go beyond, I somehow sense that SEBI has a lot more teeth than any RERA has. And why do I sense that, and what can be done to rectify that?
Okay, so at the risk of not being as critical as you, I think RERA is still a very new phenomenon. I think they've done a fantastic job. I, however, think, you know, giving them more teeth, yes, but even before that, I think there is a lot to learn from one another. You know, central bodies like I4RERA can be the facilitators, but, you know, in terms of setting up the right metrics, you know, some states are reporting what is the number of complaints, how quickly are they resolving it, which is a great, you know, self-reporting mechanism, whereas the others are not doing it. You know, people are thinking about, you spoke about the question of why developers are not complying. I think there is a carrot and a stick to everything. We've been talking about the stick. Why not, you know, make RERA an attractive proposition for the developers? Projects that are RERA compliant should get better funding. You know, it's happening in many other countries. We've seen great examples in Bahrain, in Dubai, where the financial institutions and the developers are in much better sync, because, you know, the developers that are compliant are automatically better rated and they get, you know, access to easier funding. I mean, if one were to look at the, you know, the carrot part of the equation, I think RERA compliance would increase. But, you know, coming back to your question, I think, yes, RERAs can be more empowered, but even where they are today, you know, getting a good website working, which is easy to access for the consumers, educating consumers about what they can demand, and even taking small measures like setting up, you know, conciliation forums, so that the grievances are addressed much before they can, you know, go to the court. I think these small measures by themselves can also lead to a lot of improvement. And then, of course, you know, phase 2 can be the RERAs being more empowered. I would just like to see the RERAs, you know, coming up to the base level right now.
Absolutely.
Not all state RERAs are there.
I agree, and the report actually talks about all of those 4 areas of improvement: more in-depth consumer understanding and awareness of what RERA can do, easy to navigate websites. I'm so glad you raised that website point. I mean, even as journalists, if we want to access, I mean, we're pulling our hair out between different RERAs. Their dashboards are completely different. Each one has a very different navigation. It's not at all easy. They don't make it easy for a consumer to go there and find a project and monitor its progress. And like you rightly said, swifter grievance redressals and standardized RERA dashboards. That's the start that you have to make for RERA to become more compliant or friendlier for the consumer. But RERA's intention is not just to protect the consumer or a home buyer. It's an act which is meant to also facilitate the growth of a healthy real estate sector. Now, after the break, we're going to quickly discuss this part. The other big stakeholder, the developer, how do they get a better deal from RERA? 5 years since its inception in 2016, how is the Real Estate Regulatory Act or RERA working? Well, 1,300 stakeholders, including consumers, builders, architects, state RERA authorities and financial institutions were interviewed to arrive at the answers in a very comprehensive survey done by Umeediyar Network India and Boston Consulting Group. And I'm going to now move this conversation to the developers. Shilpa, what I was surprised was that even developers are not entirely happy with RERA. And I think the biggest is that project registration, which should be completed in 30 days, sometimes gets delayed quite a bit. Quickly tell us what's working for developers within RERA and what could be better.
Yeah. So, Manisha, first of all, 65% actually said they are happy with RERA coming in. And I'll say three things. One is, frankly, it has given the sector a big boost. So developers' business would have got a big boost because there are more people who now are happy to buy into real estate as an asset class. So I think the sector itself has got a boost and that benefits them. I think, of course, while it can be better, I think it also enables easier access to funding. And that's also positive for developer business. In terms of what's not working, I think clearly what comes out is that while a lot of processes and compliances are expected of developers, it's the efficiency is not as much as should be commensurate with such level of compliance, and therefore really a lot of developers, almost 40% have said they're dissatisfied with RERA website and would like to see improvements there. I think the one other thing, let me call out, where developers have some angst is that when a product is not delivered on time, they are liable for penalties from RERA. Their take on this is, look, we also need to get very many approvals for our projects. And is there an ability to better track how these approvals come through? So I think that is an important ask from the developer side as well.
Well, unfortunately, we'll have to wrap out here, but Shilpa, you've actually summed up even the developers aspect. Approvals continue to remain a huge problem for them. It raises their cost of capital. And of course, it also means that then the projects become a little bit more expensive for the home buyer. So approvals can change so many dynamics in this industry. But thank you so much, Neetu, Shilpa and Munish for joining me on this very important discussion.
Thank you.
Hopefully, we can do a follow-up as well next year to see where we stand and whether the RERA authorities across the nation have seen this program, read the report and implemented some of the international best practices also mentioned in this report, which we can borrow from. It will benefit both the industry and the consumers tremendously. Thanks again for watching the show, and I'll be back with you same time next week.